All right, thanks for staying with us. It's time to take a look at the newspapers this morning. The headlines, of course, where we have a journalist and public affairs analyst, Adio. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's almost depressing when you look at the headlines, really. Bloodletting everywhere. Well, the Punch says, and I read, FG to prosecute tax offenders through special courts, identifies 130,000 high-profile tax evaders. That's not necessarily bloody, but it can give the nation a bloody nose.
Yeah, I mean, you're not surprised that you have 130,000
and that's a conservative figure.
Oh yes, that's quite conservative. You have a lot of leakages in the tax net in the country. If you look at our tax to GDP ratio, it's still lingering between 6, 7, 8%, which is significantly low, you know, compared to the global average. In fact,
about
even
the
regional average
Absolutely.
is quite low. So you want to collect more taxes. But then a fundamental question needs to be asked that why are people more willing to pay tithes in church than they want to pay taxes to government? It's a case of accountability and a case of feeling that their monies are being put in the things that they want done for them. So the government on its own part, in as much as it tries to rake in more funds and collect more taxes, to ensure that the taxes of these people's collected are used judiciously and people can see for themselves what their taxes are being used for.
That's a very controversial one that you just made, but I'll just let it pass. I'll just let it pass. Okay, well, fresh Benue attack, death toll rises to 24. Mass burial holds Friday. While just while we're hearing that the president is planning to go to Benue and other crisis or flashpoints, then you have this.
I mean, it's quite sad that we just keep going on and on and on about the loss of lives of fellow Nigerians, and it's becoming more than a tragedy that people need to lose their lives needlessly without the protection of the state. I think we really have to come to the point where we agree within ourselves that there's something fundamentally wrong with our internal security. We need to admit that to ourselves, and then we can sit down and chart a course forward.
But by deploying soldiers almost to every nook and cranny of the country, isn't that some sort of admission that internal security is not guaranteed, really?
I mean, it even reinforces the fact that we're not ready to do anything about internal security, if you asked me, because we keep on deploying soldiers to areas and local governments where the police are supposed to be manning. I mean, the soldiers are overstretched. They are facing a war in the northeastern part of the country. They are trying to keep peace in the Niger Delta. They're just virtually overstretched.
The Peace Corps bill, would it have helped if that had been signed into law? Because the argument is it will help at least tackle this security,
I mean, for me, that wouldn't count as a good argument to have signed the Peace Corps bill.
Okay.
Because fundamentally, I mean, it's clear. I mean, the terms of reference that sets up the Nigerian police force is to keep the peace and stabilities in communities. And once that fails to happen, this is what it results into, the needless loss of lives and properties.
I will still have here, Lagos APC rejects extension of Yoyegun's tenure. 110 Nigerians have died of Lassa fever. Egmont Group National Assembly passes bill, separates NFIU from EFCC, that's the National Financial Intelligence Unit. And DSS releases Daily Independent Abuja Bureau Chief Ezimako. Pigs kill abandoned twins in Nasarawa. Those are all the stories coming from the Punch this morning.
All right, so we go to the Nation newspaper. The major story here, alleged 4.478 billion naira contracts fraud. 8 firms indicted. UBEC writes CFCC over failed 104 Unity Colleges science kits deals. Another form of corruption there, really. But the question, because publication of the names of the companies have been made, but the question should be, who are the owners of those companies?
I mean, that's the question. Listen, the audacity that people have in this country to do some things that are quite uncomfortable and incomprehensible by me is just mind-boggling. People just think they can get away with anything. You issue contracts to people, they flagrantly disregard the terms of the contract, they do not deliver on it, and then they just go back home retired to a few billions in their accounts, and nothing happens at the end of the day.
Well, the same system that gives them the contracts allows for such
impunity to continue to recycle itself, and it's quite sad, and I hope that we see the end of this. Okay. And it doesn't just go down the toilet like every other issue goes in this country.
Absolutely. So Dapchi abduction, Ryan, attack won't happen again, says Buhari. Is that assuring?
I do hope that the lessons have been learned, because one of the tragedies of my dear country is the fact that we do not learn our lessons. We play too much politics, don't learn the lessons from various scenarios that plays out, so we could, prevent it next time. I just hope the lessons have been learned. I do hope such a national disaster or tragedy never happens.
Well, what we'll be asking is what measures really are being put in place to ensure
they'll tell you, they can't tell you such measures in the open because it's security detail. But for me, I hope that something fundamental has changed at the background, and such
we can only hope.
It just makes me remember the statement that those who fail to learn from history are doomed
oh yes.
All right, so we'll go to the bottom right of the paper. Senate reps agree to move NFIU to CBN at last.
Oh yes, so finally.
At least away from the FCC anyway.
Exactly. So finally we don't get, or rather, our suspension becomes averted at the end of the day. So I think it's a good move. Hopefully, we get unanimous decisions between the Senate and the House of Assembly on other more pertinent issues in the country that's going to move us forward. So it's a step in the right direction, and I hope that we can find more consensus on things that matter directly.
Well, some will tell you that, excuse me, some will tell you it was because they were edging close to the deadline, the latest meeting of Egmont's group, and they were trying to just get this out of the way so that Nigeria doesn't get downgraded.
I mean, better late than never, as long as we don't get downgraded at the end of the day. We've queried this National Assembly for a lack of urgency on the issues that boggles the Nigerian state. Hopefully this time, thank God they lived up to it and got it fixed before the deadline. We just hope that other issues of national interest, they show some sense of urgency.
All right, let's just quickly run through the remaining stories here. Lagos APC rejects a 10-year elongation for Oyegun others. Kwara Assembly bans trade in human parts. DSS can't force journalists to reveal source. NFF happy with Eagles World Cup preparation. Abuad is University of the Year 2017. Ambode, we are ready for talks on land use charge. Oyo House extends council chief's tenure, and this about this.
I'm wondering who is saying they are ready for talks with land use charges.
Well, it's Ambode that's saying it.
I mean, but it's past the State House of Assembly. So I don't know what talks we're talking about here.
Well, maybe to meet each other halfway or something, because some people are already complaining that the land use
but the problem is that it's been passed.
Too much.
It's already been passed. Okay. It's sad to ask what you have representatives doing in the State House of Assemblies when setting issues as important, as pertinent as land use charges are not rigorously debated. You would have expected that town hall meetings would have happened at the length and breadth of Lagos State to ask very tough questions before you go out with such initiatives.
Well, so now whenever town hall meetings, when they were held in the past, Nigerians never went, some never went there. Nigerians rarely go for town hall meetings to discuss bills.
Do they even know when the town hall meetings are, to hold?
I do not think if your representative was going to invite you to a town hall meeting that tenement rates and land use charges are going to be raised by 100 or 150%, that you wouldn't be curious to attend to lay your complaints.
All right, let's move on. The Daily Sun, bloody day in Benue, 24 killed in fresh attack, 6 others also in Borno and Plateau. Meningitis wipes out 40 in Jigawa State alone. And really Lassa is still
raging
on one side.
I mean, this goes to bring the question of primary health care centers, which we all know is in coma as we speak in this country. So, except you strengthen these primary health care centers that is closest to the people, we're not going to make progress with such. The idea that you can, a central control command from Abuja, where a Ministry of Health sits in Abuja and plans for Kunduga local government or plans for your local government.
Yes,
it's funny. It's really funny.
Anyway, the point is, it still has to do with the structure. Yeah, that's the point. Nigerian elected first black senator in Italy, Tony Iwobi. Yes. That's something to cheer about. And there's so many Nigerians like him really doing, you know, making Nigeria look good out there, but we don't seem to celebrate enough.
When you cheer about it on the one hand, you look at the other hand and see the tragedy of our nation.
Please don't take the wind out of my sail.
You know, because
just don't take the wind out of my sail. Allow me to
Nigerians,
just allow us to just, you know, savor this.
No, because
for one moment.
In truth, what are you celebrating? In essence, you're celebrating a system that allows a black skin, irrespective of his background, to thrive in a society that is not his. So he can rise to what you call the epitome or the zenith of a political career in Italy. That same man would have faced setting hurdles back home in his country. He would hear about zoning. He will hear about it's not your turn. He will hear about another person's turn to rule. He will hear so many shenanigans before he realizes political ambition. So while we celebrate these people for the landmark achievements that they record in the UK or in Italy, we should remember that we've stifled the opportunities for people like that back home in their own country.
Millions of Nigerians out there.
Millions.
If they were back home, would have improved the country. But unfortunately, because of the structure,
that's where we are.
All right, Governor Wike gets kudos for reviving rural economy. That's an interesting one. And if you get it right at that level, really, you really have done well.
Let me be very honest with you. I think there comes a time in this country where we'll need to agree on basic standards of measuring progress and performance of governance. The idea that a newspaper or a TV station would tell you are the man of the year or governor of the year. I don't know what standards you use in measuring this growth. I think we need to have a standard metrics of measuring the performances of governments or governors across the country. You have academics, you have research institutes in Nigeria. There should be a clear benchmark so that I know that all I need to do is look at the figures.
But don't forget, the media, the media has an agenda-setting role too.
That's what I'm saying.
Discountenance that.
Sadly, I'm sitting in one of the biggest medias, but we need to challenge ourselves to say that medias need to generate research units where some of these things can be brought to account. You have media stations globally who lead the debates on governance around the country, and they do that by setting benchmarks where they put together resource people, think tanks, to agree on setting standards. So we know that when a governor ticks these boxes, he's due to be the best governor of the year.
Absolutely.
This is what we just do. It's just somebody celebrates something huge, the cameras, lights, and action, and then he's the best governor suddenly.
A small group gives an award.
So tell me, what was the benchmark to say that the rural economy in Rivers State has been revived?
Well, let's say the reward for hard work is more work.
Well, who is giving the reward? That is the question. It could be just a group within the political.
All right, let's move on to our last paper.
In that state, anyway. So we'll move on to the Vanguard newspaper. A very sad story here. Sad stories, really, not even one. 26 killed as herdsmen sacked Benue village in fresh attack. Governor Otom fights tears at the sight of slain 11-year-old girl. Survivors in critical condition. Houses, food barns razed. Children, women shot, macheted. Very sad. Strange disease kills 30 in Jigawa, many hospitalized. But the Sun is reporting it as meningitis anyway. So go to the top of the paper. Another sad story. Anguished guardian laments death at BRT corridor. I gave Ezekiel his breakfast at 7:15 a.m. Picked up his corpse at 9:45 a.m.
That's how long it takes for a person.
I was going to say something about the 26 killed in Benue and the fact that the governor wants to do a mass burial. You know, in a few quarters, he was criticized for organizing a mass burial for the 70+ people who died sometime in January.
January 1 killing.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, a few people thought that it wasn't necessary for him to, move coffins and caskets, I think what the governor tries to do with these mass burials is to draw the attention of the world to the reckless abandon of lives in his state, so that the world can see consistently that it's not just about numbers on the tabloids of newspapers.
They're not just statistics.
They're not just statistics. These are people who have kids in school, their friends, their relatives, and they die needlessly because we continue to fail these people. We continue to fail to protect the lives of these people. And we must remember, we really must remember, that if we fail to stand up to demand that the lives and properties of people in Benue, Taraba, Zamfara have to be protected. One day it will be our turn.
Absolutely.
Because if the same police cannot protect these people, how are we sure that you can be protected? So we must demand that something must happen, something radical must happen to our internal security apparatus. Otherwise, someday you might not be able to leave your house.
Well, President Buhari is promising that this thing happenings would stop, but
I mean, it's too much rhetoric. Really. Just the day he left Taraba, just the next day, people were killed in farmland.
Very sad.
Okay.
All right, so just run through the many stories. Jim Ovia endorses Ambode for second term.
It was 31 years the other day.
He's getting endorsements everywhere. 31 years after, Awo's legacies have been bastardized. Oba of Benin summons native doctors, chiefs over traffickings, abductions. Would that help?
Well, I mean, he sits on a traditional platform where he could, reinforce the moral authority, of his office. Where I think, the problem usually is there's this idea from parents and families, particularly in that region, that there is no life except you leave, the country. And so you have situations where families even sell landed properties, to send their kids through that Herculean...
Yes, what the Adio state government is saying in response to the documentary, the really sad one, that Cable News Network has been carrying, is that this is not even about economics. It's a cultural thing that needs to be tackled.
People sell
maybe at the traditional institution level.
That run into a few millions. And send people abroad. So you should have used that millions to start up something interesting in your own country.
And talking about it being a common notion, we had one of those sold into slavery and was lucky to come back to the country. And when we interviewed him on this show, after the show, we asked him if he would still venture out. And he said yes,
he would.
that only he wouldn't pass through the...
It's really sad. It's really sad.
Adio, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you
for calling.
Usual.
Yes. All right, so we go on a short break, and when we return, we'll be looking at the death toll rising as Lassa fever keeps raging in the country. Stay with us on the show.